Daf Yomi, tractate Bava Batra, page 66a, top of the page with the words Ve'eno Mekabelas Tuma Mekoma. Ve'eno Mekabelas Tuma Mekoma Ve'haroda Mimeno Mishabas Chayev Chatas. And such a beehive is not susceptible to ritual impurity as long as it is fixed in its place. And one who removes honey from it on Shabbat is liable to bring a sin offering, as he is likened to one who harvests produce attached to the ground. The Chachamim say, Eno Kekarka. It is not like land. Such a beehive is not like land. Ve'en kosfin aleh apruzbal. Mekabel is tume mekom v'horoda mimenu shavas pasur. Rabbis say such a beehive is not like land, and therefore one may not write a prose ball based on it, and it is susceptible to ritual impurity even when it is fixed in its place, and one who removes honey from it on Shabbat is exempt from bringing a sin offering. The Mishnah suggests that Rabbi Eliezer holds that a vessel that was affixed to the ground is considered like land for all purposes. This contradicts the Braita that states that if one hollowed out a pipe and then affixed it to the ground, it is still considered a vessel, and water flowing through it is considered drawn water that invalidates the ritual bath. This indicates that the Braita was not taught in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Hasam Kede Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Taima de Amar Rabbi Eliezer, my Taima de Chi Rabbi Eliezer, Dichsiv de Vitpo Osa Biya Aras Advash. The Gemara rejects this opinion, stating there that in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer treats the beehive like land for the reason that Rabbi Elazar stated, and not because he holds that all vessels are affixed to the ground are considered like land, as Rabbi Eliezer stated. What is the reasoning for the atonement of Rabbi Eliezer with regard? What is the reason for the statement? I say atonement. What is the reason for the statement of Rabbi Eliezer with regard to one who removes removes honey from a beehive? His rationale is as it is written, and he put forth the end of the rod that was in his hand and disappeared it into the honeycomb. 1 Samuel 14:27. Mayar Atolesh Mimenu B'Shabbos Chaim Chatas Af Dvash Ra Mimenu B'Shabbos Chaim Chatas. Rabbi Eliezer understands that since the Hebrew words used here for honeycomb can also mean honey forest, the verse comes to teach that just as with regard to forest, one who picks anything from a tree on Shabbat is liable to bring a sin offering, so too, with regard to a beehive containing honey, one who removes honey from it on Shabbat is liable to bring a sin offering. And the beehive is treated like that, like land. Consequently, Rabbi Eliezer relies here on a special derivation, which does not necessarily apply to other vessels. There is nothing that can be learned from this about Rabbi Eliezer's opinion with regard to the pipe and the halacha. Rabbi Eliezer understands that since the Hebrew words used here for honeycomb can also be honey forest, the verse comes to teach, just with regard to forest, one who picks anything from... I think we did that already. who picks anything from a tree on Shabbat is liable to bring a sin offering. So too, with regard to beehive containing honey, one who removes honey from on Shabbat is liable to bring a sin offering, as beehive is treated like land. Consequently, Rabbi Eliezer holds here on a special derivation which does not necessarily apply to other vessels. Therefore, nothing can be found learning from the statement about Rabbi Eliezer's opinion with regard to the pipe in the Brisa. Rather, Ella, Rabbi Eliezer Daf, D'Tanan, Daf shel nach tomin, shekavu b'kaisel Rabbi Eliezer metar v'chachamim metayin. With regard to reference to the hollowed out direct must be the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer concerning a baker's board on which she kneads the dough, as we learned in the Mishnah in Kalim with regard to a baker's board was affixed to the wall. Rabbi Eliezer renders it not susceptible to ritual impurity, while the rabbis render it susceptible to ritual impurity. This seems to indicate that according to Rabbi Eliezer, anything that is affixed to the ground or is something else that is affixed to the ground is treated like land, and therefore it cannot become ritually impure. Mani, having concluded that this is the dialogue between Rabbi Eliezer and the rabbis referring to previously, the Gemara repeats their question raised earlier about the ruling in the Brisa with regard to a duct. Whose opinion is it? It appears to be neither that of Rabbi Eliezer nor that of the rabbis, as it is. If his opinion of Eliezer, then even if one hollowed out a duct and afterward he fixed it to the ground, the water flowing through should not be considered dry water that invalidates a ritual bath. As according to Rabbi even how a duct after it fixed it to the ground, water flowing through it should not be considered as one drawing water that invalidates the ritual bath. As Rabbi Eliezer, a baker's according to Rabbi Eliezer, a baker's board that was first a vessel, then became fixed in a wall and treated like land. And if it is the opinion of the rabbis, that even if he first mixed it, their duct to the ground, and once the ground, and only afterward he hauled it out, the duct should also be treated like a vessel, and water flowing through it should be considered drawing water. And as the rabbis do not differentiate with regard to the stage at which the baker's board was affixed to the wall. The old Lam Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, so maybe I skipped the line there. Mind Rabbi Eliezer, Afilu Chakov Kava Irabana, Afilu Kava because Sof Kakonami. Lam Rabbi Eliezer, he Bishani Shute Clay 8 Vituma Rabbanan. Biklal. Okay. The Gemara responds, actually, one can explain that the Brisa is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, but the halakha is governing flat wooden vessels without a receptacle, such as a baker's board, is different, as they are vessels susceptible to ritual impurity only by rabbinic law, but the Torah law that they are not vessels susceptible to ritual impurity. Therefore, Rabbi Eliezer agrees that when the baker's board is affixed to a wall, it is no longer subject to the rabbinic decree. A hollowed out duct, however, is very special, acceptable to the ritual impurity by Torah law, and it remains so often afterward it was affixed to the ground. And therefore, the water flowing through it invalidates a ritual bath. Miklal de Shiva deraisa. The Gemara asks, by inference from the fact that Rabbi Eliezer is more astringent in the case of a duct and distinguishes between a duct that was first hollowed out and only afterward affixed to the ground and one that was first affixed to the ground and only after hollowed out. It does not follow that the halacha governing drawn water, in other words, that drawn water is added to a ritual bath that does not already contain the necessary quantity of water, invalidates it by Torah law. Now we've got to 925 Brea. Yeah.